The house is awake tonight in a way that makes every shadow feel deliberate, every creak deliberate, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath while I sit at the dining table with my hands folded neatly in front of me. Eyes steady, posture calm, an illusion of stillness I wear like armor, because in this house, calmness is survival and stillness is protection and noise invites chaos. And chaos is what he thrives on. The way he moves near the window with his phone in his hand, fingers swiping carelessly, posture perfect, chest straight, confidence radiating like a spotlight, and the air bends around him like gravity. Everyone else adjusting without realizing. Amy hovering in the kitchen pretending to be busy. Abu pretending to read the newspaper while his eyes flicker occasionally to the room. Noting things without acting, and I keep my hands folded, my body calm, my mind alert because everything he does, every laugh, every smirk, every casual movement, tells a story that the others refuse to read. And when I speak lightly, reminding them that dinner is ready, he doesn't look up, merely says if I'm hungry I can eat later, words sharp, final, unquestioned. Landing like weights on a scale I am not allowed to tilt. And when I sit down again, it is not because I obey him, but because watching closely matters more than responding, noticing the way control flows. Noticing how easily he commands attention without even raising his voice. Noticing how the air itself shifts around him, how small movements, like flipping his phone over after a vibration, change the energy in the room, how a single glance at my hands or a tilt of his head can silence everyone. And I observe quietly, noting the patterns, noting the rhythms, because there is power in seeing before acting. There is advantage in noticing without speaking. And as he leaves the table leaving his plate behind, Amy rushes to clean it up, the usual rituals of the house playing out. But I remain seated, hands folded, because the silence that follows tells me more than the words ever could, because power, when unchallenged, becomes invisible but is never absent. And I can feel it like a weight pressing down from every corner, from the walls themselves, from the air that seems to hum with expectation. And I open my phone, notifications waiting, messages arriving, screens lighting up with the world beyond these walls. The digital chaos echoing the quiet tension in the room, and I don't respond. Immediately, because the timing of action is as critical as the action itself, and I study each message, each post, each comment, knowing that understanding the landscape of control is as important as surviving it, knowing that knowledge is the first step in turning the tables, knowing that every detail, every hint, every slip can be saved and recorded, can be leveraged, can be held like a weapon no one sees coming, and the doorbell rings, breaking the fragile quiet like a gunshot, and Amy rises to answer, her smile automatic, polite, hiding concern that she doesn't yet understand. While the guests enter, shoes scraping floors, voices filling the hall with superficial warmth, laughter bouncing off walls that have heard better and worse, and he steps forward instantly, the version of himself everyone expects. Confident, charming, controlled, performing the role of host and ruler simultaneously. And I sit on the sofa, hands folded, face calm, silence making people uncomfortable when they are used to noise, noticing the way he shifts around the room, the way he subtly asserts dominance, the way the guests respond without realizing, small nods, smiles, polite laughter, adjusting to him as though the air itself bends around his presence. And as tea is served, conversations overlap. He talks about family, respect, boundaries, discipline, tradition, about how households fall apart when lines are crossed. Words heavy with rehearsed weight, eyes on him, lips moving in agreement, or mild confusion, and I watch, recording, noticing small gestures. The slight tightening of a jaw, a hesitant glance, the way one hand brushes against another nervously, the subtle signs of unease that he doesn't see but the room does, because he cannot control everything, because he is blind to observation that doesn't make a sound. And then the subtle vibration of his phone breaks into the room's rhythm, too fast for anyone but me to notice, flipping it face down in a gesture meant to conceal. But the concealment is the signal I have been waiting for, the tiny crack in his flawless armor. And the guests notice something too, unsure how to respond, laughter faltering, questions half-formed, and I finally raise my eyes, voice soft but clear, reminding the room that rumors survive only when people keep feeding them. And for the first time, the room hesitates, attention snapping to me, and his laugh is too loud, too sharp, a mask of confidence slipping slightly at the corners, and the tension spreads, a subtle quake moving through walls, air, chairs, and the house itself seems to lean closer, listening, as if it has always known someone would notice, someone would wait, someone would act without showing it, and I sit back, unmoving, letting the silence do its work, letting the weight of observation press upon him, letting every detail recorded in my mind, every small slip, every flicker of expression, every tremor of tone, accumulate until the balance shifts, because revenge does not arrive loudly, it arrives slowly, invisibly, carefully, and I know that tonight in this room, with these people, with the air so tense it could shatter, the first seeds of change are planted, imperceptible to everyone but me, and I breathe calmly because calm is advantage, because stillness is weapon, because the house and everyone in it is listening, even if they do not yet realize what is coming, even if they think the night is ordinary, because ordinary is only a mask for the extraordinary, and tomorrow, when he is too confident, when the guests do not expect it, when the balance is nearly perfect, the house and I will act, quietly, deliberately, unrelentingly, and for now I sit, hands folded, posture straight, mind sharp, calm, waiting, watching, knowing that the first quiet night is always the most dangerous, because the storm is built on the stillness that no one dares to break. If you love emotional drama, suspense, and unforgettable stories, you've found your new favorite place. Subscribe now and join us every day for stories that will captivate your mind and heart. The doorbell rings again, sharp and deliberate, slicing through the tense quiet of the house, and Amy moves quickly to answer, forcing a smile onto her face that doesn't quite reach her eyes, while I remain seated on the sofa calm, hands folded, observing every movement as shoes scuff across the polished floor and guests stream inside, bringing noise, fragrance, and the familiar weight of expectation, and he immediately straightens, adopting that flawless version of himself that everyone believes is real, confident, charming, commanding, his smile wide enough to seem generous, his laughter light, the air bending around him as if it is physically reshaping itself to fit him, and every small gesture. His hand on a shoulder, the tilt of his head, the way he leans slightly forward while speaking, is a claim, a subtle assertion of control that the others accept without realizing, while I watch, noticing how easily people adjust, how quickly attention shifts, and how even the walls seem to lean toward him, hearing what I hear but never interpreting it the way I do. And as tea is poured and small talk begins, his voice dominates, discussing respect, family, loyalty, boundaries, and the delicate balance of social appearances, words flowing in rehearsed perfection, gestures timed to create comfort, and the guests respond automatically, nodding, smiling, interjecting in polite agreement, unaware that the room is no longer entirely theirs, that the subtle vibration of his phone. Earlier, the nervous glance of a cousin toward their own phone, the slight hesitation in someone's voice as they try to share a story. All of it is shifting the energy of the house in a direction he cannot see and cannot control. And I remain seated, hands folded, face calm, heart steady, allowing the room to speak to me in ways no one else can hear, each movement, each word, each pause, building into a tapestry of tension that is delicate and fragile yet undeniable. And then it happens. A message appears on someone's phone across the table, accidentally displayed on the screen for a brief moment. Something small, seemingly innocuous, but enough to create microshifts in attention, subtle eyebrow raises, glances that linger, hesitation, and the house responds immediately, the energy tightening as though every wall, every shadow, every object is waiting for a reaction, and he notices just in time to mask the flicker of concern on his face with a forced laugh. A joke too loud, a story exaggerated, words overcompensating, but the cracks remain, tiny, almost imperceptible. Yet I see them all, cataloging each gesture, each beat, each blink, knowing that these are the building blocks of leverage. And the room listens to me as well as to him, sensing the shift, feeling the pull of observation that is precise and unrelenting. And as another guest murmurs about something they saw online, uncertain, hesitant, trying to fill the gap in the conversation, he cuts them off with a quick joke, a comment meant to redirect attention, but it is too late. The shift has already begun, the energy bending subtly in my favor, though they do not know it yet, and I sip my tea slowly, deliberately, making no motion to intervene directly, letting the tension grow, letting everyone watch, letting small questions form and dissipate without answers, letting his confidence be tested in the smallest ways, while I remain calm, silent, invisible in plain sight, because revenge, I know, is never in the shouting, it is in the waiting, in the observing, in letting people step into the traps they cannot see, and the subtle trembling of hands, the nervous glance toward a phone, the small clearing of throats, the slight adjustment in posture of someone who believed the evening was ordinary. All of it feeds into the unfolding balance, and I watch as he leans back in his chair, smiling, still confident, but now forced to respond to microstimuli he cannot fully anticipate, each gesture. From the guests, each microreaction now carrying more weight, and I allow myself a tiny, almost imperceptible smile, the first hint that I am no longer merely watching, but understanding the power of timing, patience, observation, because every word he says, every story he tells, every laugh that rings too loudly is now a thread in the web I am weaving, and when one guest finally mentions a rumor they heard, hesitant, almost apologetic, he stiffens, shoulders tightening, the perfect mask. Faltering for a microsecond that only I notice, and the house itself seems to pause, waiting, holding its breath as if it knows the tipping point is near. And I speak softly, almost under my breath, not loud enough to command, but enough for attentive ears to catch, reminding everyone that rumors survive only when people feed them. And the room stops, all movement pauses, subtle but undeniable. And even he laughs again, but it is forced, strained, lacking the confidence he always wears because he cannot dismiss what he has seen, the subtle acknowledgement that control is no longer absolute, and I remain seated, hands folded, calm, observing, letting the energy solidify, letting tension grow into quiet pressure that cannot be ignored. And the evening continues, every joke, every comment, every sip of tea carefully noted, catalogued, mentally recorded for future moments, while the guests remain unaware, thinking the night is normal, believing in the performance, and I know that this is the beginning of a series of shifts, tiny cracks forming in the structure of confidence that he has built over years, the first small indications that the balance of power is no longer in his hands, though he still believes it is. And I continue to sit calm, silent, patient, because revenge is not measured in speed. It is measured in precision, timing, and inevitability. And tonight, as I observe the subtle tremors in posture, the micro-expressions of hesitation, the nervous glances, and the faint pauses in conversation, I know that the first pieces of what will come are already in place, unnoticed but effective, and the house itself seems to lean closer, listening, feeling, understanding, aligning itself with the quiet tension that I carry, because sometimes the most devastating power is invisible, unacknowledged, silent, and the guests, oblivious, continue their polite chatter, unaware that they are witnesses to a moment in which the invisible has already begun to take form. While I remain calm, steady, and attentive, allowing the smallest misstep, the tiniest hesitation, the smallest crack to register and be stored, every detail a note in the symphony of control that I am slowly orchestrating. And though he smiles, though he laughs, though he gestures, though he performs, I am aware of the fissures, the minute tremors that tell the story of weakness hidden beneath performance. And I sip my tea again slowly, deliberately, letting the quiet settle over the room, letting tension grow like a slow wave, unnoticeable until it crashes. And in this quiet observation, in this patience, in this presence, I feel the first true advantage, the awareness that the storm does not need to roar to be devastating, that revenge is not in chaos but in calm, and that the seeds sown tonight will grow into inevitability without a sound, without a shout, and the house, every wall, every shadow, every beam, every polished surface, is aware, watching, waiting while I sit, calm, patient, silent, knowing that the moment when balance shifts will come, unstoppable, precise, and complete. And for now, I remain in control of nothing but my own stillness, my own watchfulness, and that is more than enough to begin.